you've been on Newsline before, and I was not here, and that was done by our wonderful friend and colleague, Bandula Jayasekara, who at the moment is fighting his own corner, and we wish him really well in that. Now then, Mr. Jayanaga, tell me, when you looked into the 20th Amendment, and you then your committee and the BSL wrote and gave sort of an advisory or gave your points, what were the key points that was of consternation?
Most of the points that have been taken up by the Supreme Court,
right,
or decided by the Supreme Court, where Supreme Court says that referendum is necessary. We too were in agreement with those, and we went beyond that. In fact, we suggested that the right of the President to dissolve Parliament should be abolished totally. That was one point. Other one was about the dual citizenship. That is startling sometimes.
Right.
And most of the countries, they don't tolerate dual citizen to become a ruler. Recently, I believe in Australia, a deputy minister obtained citizenship in New Zealand, a friendly country, but he was asked to resign by the Australian government. So those were the certain other matters, among many matters that we have discussed, the key matters that I should tell you.
Shall we just do this in reverse? What is the worrying aspect of the dual nationality matter, considering the fact that previously it was allowed?
It was like this. Now you take the oath that these people will have to take when they apply for a citizenship in another country.
Yeah.
For example, in United States, the oath is startling. What do they say? They say, I make oath and hereby renounce absolutely and entirely my allegiance and fidelity to country, state of which I have been a citizen.
Which is pretty comprehensive.
Comprehensive. And also he expressly pledges allegiance to the United States, and he promises to hold arms in the defense of United States if necessary. So here is a person who has given up fidelity, allegiance to his mother country. So should he become a ruler? Should he be allowed to rule this country? I don't think so. That is not the right thing.
In the United States, I think we all remember Henry Kissinger.
Yes.
Henry Kissinger ended up as the foreign minister's Secretary of State, the equivalent of foreign minister. But he couldn't ever run for president because he wasn't born there.
That's right.
So, would you be against such a system where you can enter Parliament but you can't enter the President's house?
Yes. In fact, there was a team appointed by the Prime Minister to study when there was some opposition, and one of the suggestions made by that report, I was told, I don't know, I was told was this, that they can enter Parliament but they can't become the President or the Prime Minister. But that has no rationale behind it.
Yeah, because if you can enter cabinet,
enter the cabinet, you see, it has no rationale behind it.
And so even if you were to look at reality, which is that Sri Lanka is highly unlikely to go to war with the United States, then would that be a consideration that has some merit or not?
There is, because there is conflict of interest,
right,
and split loyalty. And also, even the Supreme Court has observed this, made some observations. There are a lot of concerns in this: trade, bilateral relationships, multilateral relationships, foreign relationships.
This is not only war.
Not only war, but of course the judges have concluded this is all surmise and conjecture.
Yes.
We cannot make a decision on surmise and conjecture.
Right.
That was the decision of the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Therefore, they say that you don't need the referendum for
Why?
this.
Why not a referendum?
No, they say that the referendum is referendum is needed. In the constitution there are clauses called entrenched clauses.
Right.
If any of the amendments affects,
Those
alters, modifies entrenched clauses, then they will ask for a referendum.
Right.
Now this they say no. Normally it's the most broadest provision is the sovereignty of the people. So by this they hold that the sovereignty of the people is not affected, because this is surmise and conjecture. And
in any event, this country has long suffered from a lack of I am Sri Lankan, I am number one, Sri Lanka first, Sri Lanka centric. You know, we don't see labels saying proudly made in Sri Lanka. Some do, and so on. So I think all of us, especially in an ambience where we are looking at accountability, reconciliation, and the unity that we enjoyed before chaps like Prabhakaran and so on came along, and some elements of the Marxists as well, we enjoyed that sort of unity. And whilst we are trying to return to that, then I think that we need to be Sri Lanka first.
Yes.
And proud to be
that's
so.
Right, proud to be Sri Lankan.
Right. Okay, so that's the dual nationality. What about the accumulation of powers to the president?
Yeah, this is the biggest problem that we will be facing in the future, now that it has passed. Now up to date, or rather still not passed yet, the present prevailing constitution, there is a power sharing with the executive and the legislature. So there is little bit of checks and balances was brought in by the 19th Amendment. Now that will be gone altogether. So high power will be concentrated in the hands of a single individual, which is bad. Now we have had that experience in 1979, 78. There is a myth and misconception that the people think that you must have power to develop the country. That is absolute myth.
Well, I want to put it in simple terms.
Yes.
I want to ask you, what is wrong if the president has all these powers? What are you worried about? Are you worried about Parliament and the Parliament losing its supremacy and its independence? Is that what it is?
Two things. One is, when president enjoys all these powers are concentrated in the hands of one individual, which means he can be arbitrary. He can use it arbitrarily.
Yeah.
So there is no control. The other one is, both Parliament as well as the President, elected by the people. Both these institutions are elected by the people.
Two separate institutions.
Elected by the people. So the people exercising their sovereignty, exercise that sovereignty to elect the members of the House for a particular period.
So we have a legitimate expectation that they'll be there for 5 years or whatever.
Yeah. Now see, you give power to the President over the Parliament. But what can the Parliament do? Parliament can only impeach the President, which is impossible task.
Virtually impossible.
Virtually impossible task. So there is a severe imbalance between these two entities. And also, if the Parliament enjoys, as you say, quite rightly, supremacy of Parliament, there are 225 people, there will be debates, there will be decision making will be more sort of democratic.
Yeah.
But when the power is given to one person, let's say to appoint the judges, that's his wish.
That's his wish, and it's his whim, if you want, as well. But some people say, look, that shouldn't be a big consideration, because the person who is appointed to that position needs to act with a backbone and with his conscience intact.
Yes, one can say so. But at the same time, there are human frailties are there.
And human realities.
Human realities, quite right. Frailties and realities.
Can the President, under these new rules which may or may not come in under the 20th, obviously the President can appoint, Can the president fire?
Yes. Judges of the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal, he can't.
He can't.
He can't. That is by
but he can appoint.
He can appoint them, but he can't fire them.
Right.
Auditor General, he can't fire.
Right.
So there are certain safeguards.
Right.
Safeguards are there. But only thing is he can appoint the people whom he wants. People whom he wants. This is the problem.
Is that a problem?
That is a problem.
What would you like to see? Would you like to see a system in place?
That's it. Now we have that system in place.
What is that system?
Through the Constitutional Council, there is a sharing basis.
Right.
Where the President is the appointing authority. President sends the names to the Constitutional Council, which is a very comprehensive body.
Right.
All the political parties are represented, and the President's representative is also there.
But surely we can't have independence if it is made up of politicians.
No, there are civil society members.
3.
Yeah, 3. But nevertheless, they are at least it has broadened the democratic parameters of this country.
Right.
And there was a power sharing concept was introduced,
right,
where the President had to work with the legislature, work with the Constitutional Council. With the recommendation and approval of the Constitutional Council only, you can make those appointments.
Right.
But he is the appointing authority.
And so that's the uncomfortable part.
That's it.
Yeah. So, okay, now we say that the executive, the legislature and the judiciary are 3 independent arms. All right?
Yes.
The people elect 2, the executive and the legislature.
That's right.
The judiciary, the people do that through some other means.
Yes.
So who checks the balance between the presidency, the executive and the legislature? Because like you say, the president can, under the proposed rules, can dismiss parliament
in a stroke of a pen.
Just a stroke of a pen. But for the parliament to impeach the president is a rather long-winded process which is fraught with all sorts of complications and humps and bumps.
Yes.
So where is the check?
The check should be, the present system is the better check, because the Constitutional Council, and I must tell you this, with your permission I will go back to the history.
Yeah.
Now our Constitution was amended 19 times. There were twice it was amended with the consensus of the Parliament. That is the 17th Amendment and the 19th Amendment, except one voting against. In both these occasions, the democracy was widened. The concept of democracy, the parameters of democracy were widened. 17th Amendment was the first time Constitutional Council was introduced. Independent commissions were introduced. They were free from political interference. So then the 19th Amendment, 18th Amendment did away all that. Instead of Constitutional Council, they brought in Parliamentary Council, which consists of 5 persons. Speaker, Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition and 2 nominees of PM and Leader of Opposition. But even the 20th Amendment has brought it back again, where the President will have to ask for the observations of the Parliamentary Committee. He is not bound to go by those observations. There is no recommendation or approval of the Parliamentary Council needed.
On that note, we'll go for a short break, Mr. Jananga, and don't go away. After all, this is Newsline Live. We'll be back. We're discussing the drawbacks of the accumulation of power to one person, the President of the country.
Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz, Shauketaly.
Welcome back to Newsline Live and to our last approximately 11 minutes. We're in conversation with Mr. S.T. Jayanaga, who's been member of the committee that studied the 20th Amendment for the BASL, the Bar Association of Sri Lanka. I've got a question. By the way, thank you for your questions. By SMS 0772 300 305. Our producer tonight, Rashka, will probably put it on the screen now. 0772 300 305. Why do our leaders, once in power, think in a feudal manner? By the family, of the family, and from the family. Is that a good question?
It's a very good question, excellent question, but it's not the fault of the leaders, but the fault of the people who bring them to power.
Yeah, that's true.
Fault of the people who bring them to power. I believe that there is our mindset that we would like to get ourselves subjected to a feudalistic leader.
Because there are many, I once wrote an article about it several years ago, but there is maybe over 150 families involved in politics. Grandfather, fathers, sons, uncles, aunties, nephews, nieces, brothers and sisters, husband and wives. So Sri Lanka is not, dynastic politics is nothing new in Sri Lanka. Now then, shall we go, the other question is, why do you think, or what do you think of Lee Kuan Yew? Maybe this president will bring us into the first world quickly.
Well, that era is gone. Lee Kuan Yew's and Mahathir Mohamad's era is gone. Today the world is more concerned about the human rights, and the dissemination of information is so fast. It would not be easy for a administrator like Lee Kuan Yew or even Mahathir Mohamad to administer the country in the present context, because the world, the other countries, we are associated with other countries. We are in a global village, so we cannot compare the eras of Lee Kuan Yew's and Mahathir Mohamad's to the modern society, modern day. I don't think even this president, if he wish to, he won't be able to.
So even if Lee Kuan Yew was starting off in this era, as you call it, he'd have a difficulty.
He will have difficulty. His strategy will have to change. You see, his strategy will have to change.
So we're not stuck in that. So we need to move on.
Move on.
Madam, Mr. Danaka, the government have a significant majority. The way the voting's going, it looks like they got more than 2/3. The people, government members are voting not with their conscience but according to party instruction. And there's no good then denying it, because it's obvious to all of us that they're not using their conscience, and we know that because there have been rumblings and so on. So how is this going to impact on the people? How is this going to impact on our ability to get the country going back in terms of the economy? And more, we are going to need our trading partners more than ever before.
Yes. You know, this government has all the power that is needed to develop the country. I think the foremost issue should be the economy of the country. Our economy is in dire straits, and not the constitution. Now, if somebody says that one must have this enormous power in the hands of the president for the development of the country, that is a misconception. That's a myth. You don't need any of these. The present power that is enjoyed by the government is more than enough.
But a lot of officials tend to hide behind officialdom and bureaucracy, and it appears that the style of this president is to say, look, I want it done, and I want it done now.
He can do it. Even now he can do it. He doesn't need all this. He can do it.
Then is he being ill-advised, poorly advised?
I believe so.
Or not?
He has been ill-advised, because in the rush, now see, they are talking of bringing a constitution with a public participation in another 6 months' time. Now, if that is their desire, why this indecent hurry to bring an amendment to the constitution, 20th amendment? It is not an amendment to nullify the 19th. It amends many provisions in the constitution. For example,
it's not merely a reversal.
No, not merely a reversal of the 19th amendment. For example, abolition of the procurement commission, abolition of the audit commission. Now these are new concepts that were introduced by the 20th Amendment. So
how does the doing away with the National Audit Commission, how does that strengthen the President's hand to perform?
Well, President will be appointing the Auditor General. So he can appoint a person of his choice.
Is the qualification of the Auditor General specified?
It was not specified.
No.
It was not specified. Even that the earlier the term qualified person, there was a presently it says that a qualified person should be appointed as the Auditor General. Even that has been removed from the new provision.
So there is no.
But I think Attorney General gave the undertaking that he will bring it back during the.
Well, I find that astonishing, Mr. Jayanagar, because in previous times, in the matter of the privatization of Sri Lanka Insurance, and when that went up to the courts, the Chief Justice then specified who the qualifications of who could sit on the board of Sri Lanka Insurance. Now, if the Supreme Court can do something for a corporate body, yes, owned by the government, but nevertheless a corporate body, then surely a matter like the Auditor General must have some form of qualification.
Yes, yes. There should be. But whether that should be constitutionally stated is a different issue. But for example, now see, when we appoint judges, it doesn't say that qualification specifically specifies that so and so should be the judge or even the lawyer. They don't mention that.
So, but all judges have what?
They must be lawyers.
Yeah, they must.
Basically, they must be lawyers.
They'll have to be.
They have to be.
Has there been ever an instance where it's a layman who's a judge?
Not to my knowledge, I don't think, unless those minor judiciary, but not in the Court of Appeal, not in superior courts, certainly not, no way.
So you must have a thorough understanding of the laws.
Yes. High courts and district courts and all that, must have.
But don't you find that astonishing?
It is. I should say that, that, you are quite right. I fully agree with you that these qualifications must be constitutionally stated, or there must be a separate statute. But we have the Judicature Act, but even that that doesn't specify the qualifications. The qualifications must be constitutionally stated. That's what I feel. There's certain high positions like Auditor General. Those are skill jobs, in the sense that you need special training for that, special study, special scholarship. So speciality will have to be stated in the Constitution. I hope the Constitution that they speak of in another 6 months' time, they will include all this. But I have my doubts about it. If they pass this 20th Amendment, the President will get so much of power. Once power is given to a person, he will never give up. That's a normal human frailty. And I have a feeling that this Constitution that they speak of will never see the light of the day.
But the new one?
New one, not the 20th.
So there will be nothing beyond the 20th?
They will be talking, they will appoint committees, they will make big queue.
They'll have a song and dance.
That's right, have a song and dance, that's all. Now Professor Piris had gone down on record saying that in 6 months' time they will bring it. The same thing he said during Chandrika's time, abolished the executive presidency. Now that was the public outcry from 1993.
Well, Mr. S.T. Jayanagar, thank you very much for collectively getting Sri Lanka thinking. And there is much to be thought. Thank you very much for being on Newsline Live. We appreciate your presence here. And that's the way it was on Newsline Live. Take care, have a wonderful evening ahead of you, and do watch the Primetime News next. God bless you.
Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz Shauketaly.